You are so great at breaking down tape that you noticed it too, obviously. You started making excuses. And so what happened? At the end of last season, Carson Wentz beat the NFC East 4 times, the most putrid division in the history of football until this season's NFC East. And I noticed, wait a minute, he's lucky to win these games. These are awful teams. Don't tell me about Eagles injuries. Those teams basically always have injuries because they have no players. That's why they're terrible. They have no talent, right? So they're awful. And Carson Wentz beats those teams, turning the ball over on 3rd down in the 4th quarter, lucky that his team recovers it, those kind of plays. So at the end of this season, instead of doing real soul searching, what do I have to get better at? Maybe I need to be more accountable on drives where I'm trying to do too much. Maybe I shouldn't play hero ball. Maybe I need to know when to throw the ball away or take the sack, right? Instead of doing real soul searching, he was emboldened because he turned on the TV and heard Dan Orlovsky talking about how great he is, and you, Stephen A. Smith, who should know better. You backing it up. Oh, the Eagles with all these injuries, it's not just Carson Wentz's fault. Yes, it was. He was enabled and emboldened by people talking about how great he was. The offseason came, and he's sitting. What he needed to be doing was real soul searching. What do I have to do better? What do I have to correct? He has done none of that. The mistakes have just gotten worse. His coach is scared to answer the question whether he has the autonomy to bench him. I told you weeks ago he needed to be benched to be held accountable. I don't think Carson Wentz will ever be the Carson Wentz from 2017 again.
Well, first of all, if you're going to go on such a lengthy soliloquy, you should at least have the decency to answer the question directly. Is it time to bench Carson Wentz? The answer isn't, it doesn't matter. There's a yes or no answer to that question, which you never gave us. That's number one. Number two, why? Doug Peterson told you why. Dan, you sort of quote. Max, you sort of quote. What did the man say? To bench Carson Wentz is basically conceding that your season is over.
Right.
If that ain't an indictment, what is? We saw Brian Flores bench Ryan Fitzpatrick to bring in a rookie quarterback because he said that's the change we think we needed. Then we saw him bench Tua yesterday because the team needed a spark and he was underperforming. We've seen throughout NFL histories starting quarterbacks get benched many, many times in the best interest of the team, not just for the future, but the immediate future. We've seen that. So for Doug Peterson to say that is the ultimate indictment against Jalen Hurts, because what he's saying is this young brother is not ready. And if we were to bench Carson Wentz, as bad as he has been, 14 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, ain't even completing 59% of his passes. This brother right here with those numbers, if we bench him, we're saying even at 3-6-1, with him playing horribly, our season is over. That's all you need to know about Jalen Hurts, that he ain't ready, because Doug Peterson said that as a quote. So that's where I'm at with it. Of course, Carson Wentz looked bad. He looks awful. But Dan, I'll pass it to you by saying this. Yes, we made all of these excuses. I tweeted yesterday about Max Kellerman. And you know what? I'm done with Carson Wentz. You know what, Max? You're right. I got it because he looks that damn bad. But it didn't mean that I'm denying what their offensive line was giving them. It didn't mean I'm denying all the injuries they sustained. It didn't mean I'm denying them being bereft of weapons the way that they are. All I'm saying is he's so bad with that pick six that he threw yesterday, which was so inexcusable. I've just lost all patience with him. But clearly, Jalen Hurts ain't the answer, because if he had anything to give you, Doug Peterson would have put him in there.
Many people in the TV world have been asking you to do more of this, and it's pretty obvious why. We're listening to you break it down this morning. I know you're in California this morning. You spend a lot of time there in Idaho and Key. I was near Carson's place. I'm not going to reveal Carson's location, but I was at a restaurant called the Pioneer Saloon. Big place, taxidermy, deer, all that stuff on the wall, prime rib, the baked potato. The article recently written, Carson actually gave the commencement speech at the high school there, the community school, doing great things in the community there. And I think somebody was at the restaurant, Carson, correct me if I'm wrong, and they recognized him. They said, wait, Carson Palmer from USC? And they sent over a bottle of wine. Do I have that right?
How do you? Yeah, you must have speakers and cameras everywhere. How do you know this stuff?
Carson, I'm telling you, he does it every damn show with us. We're like, where does that come from?
He's very sneaky.
I cannot reveal my sources, but it is great that, look, you won the Heisman Trophy, 2002, right? Who's your Heisman Trophy? Who are you going to vote for? Because you got a lifetime vote as a winner.
This year, that's a really good question. It's been so hard to watch college football. It seems like every other game's getting canceled. I don't know right now. I mean, there's so much football that needs to be played and so little football that's been played so far. My Trojans have only played 3 games, and we beat Utah on Saturday night, and it was Utah's first game in November. So if I had to pick somebody right now, I would throw Keaton Slovis in there. He's played really, really well, the quarterback at SC. And when he's needed to, at the last down of the game and the last second of the game, he's found a way to get his Trojans to 3-0. So that's where my pick is right now, but there's still a lot of college football left to be played.
Fight on, Key?
Yeah, well, Carson knows what to do. I don't even need to say anything. Carson knows what's right. He knows who to pick.
Great stuff. Keaton
Over a bottle of wine? How do you know that?
I cannot reveal my sources, but I would definitely recommend the Pioneer Saloon if you're ever in Ketchum, Idaho. Carson, thank you so much for joining. It was great to catch up with you.
Thanks, fellas. Have a great day.
All right, Carson.
You too, Carson.
Great guy. Carson Palmer. So here we go. Monday Night Football. You kind of mentioned it, Jay. BA.
I'm still in awe. How did you find that location? How do you?
Well,
I've
he
been
was
there.
up there backpacking or something, right?
Yeah, I was out there.
Yeah.
I was out there.
No, he was right. You were there.
with my
backpacking.
bear spray,
Yeah.
my fishing line,
He had all that.
snowshoeing, all that sort of stuff.
Told you he's very
fishing?
sneaky.
Not a lot of people out there. So you mentioned COVID free. You mentioned BA tonight. Obviously, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. Tonight, it's going to be the Bucs. And it's going to be the Rams on Monday Night Football. And we're going to get into this with our special guest here in just a couple of minutes. But I want to mention this game, as you may have heard, is going to be the first game in the 101-year history of the National Football League in which every single official on the field is going to be African American. Now, this is something the league announced a little over a week ago, and it's gotten tremendous acclaim. And before I talk to one of the most prominent African American officials in league history, I just want to give a shout out, a little history lesson here, if you will, if you would oblige so much, especially with you two fellas. It's important to mention tonight a guy by the name of Burl Toller, Burl, B-U-R-L. Burl was the first African American official ever in the NFL, and he was an outstanding player himself. Key, you would appreciate this, a guy that's a former player that went on to do great things. He played for the 1951 University of San Francisco Dons, which is generally known as a basketball school in the 60s, right? But this is the University of San Francisco Dons. He played with Gino Marchetti. He played with Ollie Matson. Those guys were inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The athletic publicity director, so like the communications director for that team, Pete Rozelle, who went on to become the NFL commissioner. So I just want to give a tip of the cap to Jerome Boger, who will be tonight's crew chief. We're going to talk to Mike Carey, who was one of the most prominent African-American officials in the NFL in just a moment. But just a tip of the cap, because always, as you guys know in sports, somebody's got to come first. Somebody's got to come first. And Burl Toller, who is no longer with us, he has died. But I just wanted to mention he's the first African-American official in NFL history. And tonight, fellas, every single guy on the field will be an African-American official. It's a really great moment.
No, it's cool. It's really going to be cool. And when you think about it, it's, things have come a long ways just in general in life and society as a whole. But to be able to put an entire crew together just shows you how far and how long the NFL has gone to do these things. I mean, it's great, and they put it on a national stage. They didn't have it on a Sunday, buried in the Detroit Lion. I don't know. Give me a bad team, Detroit and Jets game. In Detroit, they kind of Monday night big stage. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be real cool.
I think it's monumental. There's also a part of me. It's kind of like my dad, where I'm like, man, it's 2020. It took that long to do something like that. I guess you had to do it with intent, but the fact that it's done, that's what it should be, though, right? I mean, your referee should look like how the country looks, and it should be diverse, and that's the way it should be.
Well, I think it probably, in terms of the NFL, the diverse part of it, how many people are out there that's African American that really, how many really wanted to become referees, so to speak, right? Is there enough? To your point, though, Jay, maybe it should have been done a while ago, but it's being done tonight.
I understand.
So
Yeah. I'm with you.
That's the fun part about it. It's being done tonight.
This is going to be a little bit controversial, but it's like I see it. I recognize it. I don't know if I just stand up and applaud it. Like, yeah, like I feel like these are things like when you're a leader as far as organizations, like you have to do things with intent, right? And that's why I said it's 2020. Just
but
feels
it
like
takes sometimes though, Jay.
it takes to be pushed. I agree. You're right.
It takes certain things to get people's attention.
That's true.
And then they realize, right? They realize, you know what? We might want to think about doing this. And maybe Troy Vincent mentioned it to him and got him to push to do it. And because everything else that's going on in our country, it's like, okay, all right, yeah, we're going to do it. Think about some of the commercials that you see now. Some of the commercials that you see now, you would have never seen 15, 20 years ago at all. You just wouldn't, you're just like, no, they would never run that. They would never show that. But now it's like everything that we've gone and we've been dealing with over the last year and a half,